The conference room at Prestige Title Company smelled like leather and bad coffee. I sat in the corner chair, watching my Aunt Patricia flip through glossy brochures from Dr. Renault's Cosmetic Surgery Center. She'd brought them to the closing. Actually brought them, full facelift, neck lift, and the eyelid procedure. Patricia announced to nobody in particular, holding up a before and after photo. $300,000 worth of work, all cash, closing on the lake house today makes it possible. The buyers, a retired couple named the Hendersons, smiled politely from across the mahogany table. They'd already done their walkthrough of the property last week. My property. The 3-bedroom Cedar Lodge on Lake Minnetonka that my grandmother left me when I was 19. It's such a lovely home, Mrs. Henderson said. We've been looking for a lake property for 5 years. When we saw the listing, we knew it was meant to be. Patricia beamed. Oh, it's been in our family forever. My mother built that place in 1978. So many memories there. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, though I noticed they stayed completely dry. I said nothing, just sipped my water and checked my phone. 2:47 p.m. The closing was scheduled for 3 o'clock. Where's the seller representative? Mr. Henderson asked, checking his watch. That would be me, Patricia said smoothly. I'm handling everything for the estate. My jaw tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. Patricia had been saying that for 6 weeks now, ever since she'd somehow gotten a realtor to list the property without my knowledge. She'd told the listing agent she had power of attorney. She'd forged documents. She'd created an entire fictional narrative where the lake house belonged to the family trust, and she was the executor. The only true part was that there was a trust, just not the one she'd invented. And you are? Mrs. Henderson asked me kindly, finally acknowledging my presence. Patricia answered before I could. That's my niece, Emma. She's just here for moral support. Bit of a difficult time, saying goodbye to the family property. I understand completely, Mrs. Henderson said. It must be bittersweet. I met Patricia's eyes across the table. She held my gaze for exactly 3 seconds, then looked away. She knew I knew, and she thought there was nothing I could do about it. The door opened and a young woman in a navy suit entered, carrying a leather portfolio. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Matsuda, your closing agent. Sorry for the delay. There's been a small issue with the title documentation that we need to address. Patricia's smile flickered. Issue? What kind of issue? Everything was cleared last week. Jennifer sat down and opened her portfolio. Yes, well, our final review flagged something. It's probably nothing, but we need to verify a few details before we can proceed. She pulled out a stack of papers. Mrs. Patricia Thornton, you submitted documents claiming authority to sell the property at 4782 Lakeshore Drive, as executor of the Thornton Family Trust, correct? That's right, Patricia said. Her voice had an edge now. My mother established that trust in 1995. I've been the executor since she passed in 2019. I see. Jennifer made a note. And you have documentation proving this trust's ownership of the property. Of course. Patricia pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Trust documents, death certificate, executor appointment, it's all there. Jennifer examined the papers carefully, too carefully. I watched her eyes move across each page, her expression professionally blank. Mrs. Thornton, Jennifer said finally, these documents show a trust established by Margaret Thornton in 1995, with you as executor upon her death. That's all accurate. Patricia relaxed. Exactly, so we can proceed. Not quite. Jennifer pulled out another set of papers from her portfolio. Because according to county records, the property at 4782 Lakeshore Drive was never owned by the Thornton Family Trust. It was deeded directly to Emma Thornton in 2019, as an individual bequest in Margaret Thornton's will. Furthermore, Emma established her own irrevocable trust in 2020, with herself as both grantor and primary beneficiary. The room went silent. Patricia's face drained of color. That's impossible. My mother would never. I have the deed right here, Jennifer continued, sliding papers toward the center of the table. Recorded with the county on March 15, 2019. Emma Thornton, sole owner. Then on June 3, 2020, the property was transferred into the Emma Thornton Irrevocable Trust, with Emma as trustee and beneficiary. Mr. Henderson leaned forward, confused. I don't understand. We were told this property belonged to the family trust. It does not, Jennifer said firmly. She turned to me. Miss Thornton, I apologize for any confusion. As the actual property owner, you would need to be the seller on these documents. Were you aware of this transaction? Every eye in the room fixed on me. I set down my water glass. No, I was not aware my aunt was attempting to sell my property. Patricia's hand slammed on the table. This is ridiculous. Emma, stop this nonsense right now. You know that property belongs to the family. Your grandmother intended. My grandmother, I interrupted, keeping my voice level, left the lake house specifically to me in her will. You were at the reading. You objected then too. Because it wasn't fair. That property should have been divided among all of us. But it wasn't, I said. It was left to me, and I placed it in an irrevocable trust specifically to protect it from situations like this. Jennifer cleared her throat. I'm going to need to stop this closing. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, I apologize, but we cannot proceed with this sale. The seller does not have legal authority to transfer this property. Mrs. Henderson looked devastated. But we've already sold our condo. We're supposed to close on that next week. We have nowhere to go. I'm very sorry, Jennifer said. You'll need to discuss your options with your realtor. This transaction cannot proceed. Patricia stood up abruptly. Emma, we need to talk, privately. No, I said, we don't. I'm your aunt, your family. You can't just forge documents. I said quietly. You impersonated a property owner. You attempted to steal $300,000 from me to pay for plastic surgery. It wasn't stealing. That house should be mine. Mom promised me. Mom left it to Emma, a voice said from the doorway. Everyone turned. My mother stood there, still in her hospital scrubs from her shift at Mercy General. She must have driven straight from work. Lisa, Patricia said, her voice changing to something pleading. You know how unfair this is. That property should be divided among the three of us. You, me, and David. Mom never should have given it all to Emma. Mom left it to Emma, because Emma was the only one who spent time with her those last 5 years. My mother said, walking into the room. She nodded to Jennifer. I'm Lisa Thornton Hayes, Emma's mother. I'm here as a witness to confirm that my daughter is the sole legal owner of the lake house property. Patricia's face twisted. You're taking her side, against your own sister. I'm not taking sides. I'm stating facts. My mother pulled out her phone and started scrolling. Emma, when did Patricia list the property? September 12th, I said. And when did you find out? September 28th. A neighbor saw the listing online and called me. My mother nodded. And what did you do? I contacted the title company immediately. I submitted my trust documents and requested they flag the property for fraud review. Jennifer consulted her notes. Yes, we received Miss Thornton's documentation on September 30th. We've been investigating since then. Patricia sank back into her chair. This is insane. You're all insane. Mrs. Thornton, Jennifer said, her professional tone hardening slightly. I need to inform you that our company is required to report suspected title fraud to the county attorney's office. Given the documentation you submitted, claiming authority you don't possess, and your attempt to complete this sale, we have no choice but to file that report. Title fraud. Patricia's voice went shrill. I'm not committing fraud. This is a family dispute. You claim to be the executor of a trust that doesn't own this property, Jennifer said. You submitted fraudulent documents to a licensed realtor, to a title company, and to prospective buyers. That's not a family dispute. That's fraud. Mr. Henderson stood up. We should go, honey. This is clearly a legal matter now. Mrs. Henderson gathered her purse, giving me a sympathetic look. I'm sorry you're dealing with this, dear. After they left, the room felt smaller. Patricia sat slumped in her chair, her surgery brochures scattered across the table. My mother stood behind me, one hand on my shoulder. Jennifer organized her papers methodically. Miss Thornton, Emma, I'll need you to sign some documentation confirming your ownership, and stating you did not authorize this sale. We'll also need to officially cancel the listing. Of course, I said. What happens to me? Patricia asked quietly. Jennifer didn't look up from her papers. That's up to the county attorney's office. And Miss Thornton, if she chooses to pursue civil charges. Patricia's head snapped up. Civil charges. Emma, you tried to steal my house, I said, to pay for plastic surgery. I wasn't stealing. I was just borrowing. I was going to pay you back eventually. By selling my property without my permission. You never use it. You go there maybe twice a year. It's just sitting empty while I'm drowning in debt. And she stopped herself. My mother's grip on my shoulder tightened. Patricia, how much debt are you in? Patricia's silence was answer enough. The plastic surgery was never the real reason, was it? I asked. You need money. A lot of it. I have some investments that didn't pan out, Patricia muttered. And Marcus left me with his business debts when we divorced. And the condo needs a new roof. And she covered her face with her hands. Everything's falling apart. For the first time that day, I felt something other than anger toward her, something that might have been pity. How much do you need? I asked. My mother's hand left my shoulder. Emma, no. How much? I repeated. Patricia lowered her hands. Her makeup was smudged now, making her look older than her 53 years. 200,000, maybe more. I thought if I could sell the lake house, split the money with you and Lisa and David, I'd have enough to get clear and still have some left for making myself feel better about everything. By lying to everyone and forging documents, I panicked. Patricia's voice cracked. I've always been the successful one. The one with the nice house, and the good marriage and the career. Now I'm divorced, bankrupt, and living in a condo with a leaking roof. Meanwhile, you're 32 with a paid-off house, and a trust fund from mom. And I work 60 hours a week, as a grant writer for nonprofits. I interrupted. I make $43,000 a year. The lake house is the only valuable thing I own, and I was planning to sell it eventually to make a down payment on a house closer to the city. That trust fund you mentioned, it generates about $2,000 a year in interest. Hardly wealth. Patricia stared at me. But you always seem so comfortable. I'm careful with money. There's a difference. Jennifer cleared her throat. I hate to interrupt, but I need to finalize this documentation. Miss Thornton, if you could review and sign here. I signed the papers canceling the sale and confirming the fraud report. Jennifer gathered everything into her portfolio. What happens now? My mother asked. I'll file these with the county today, Jennifer said. The attorney's office will review and determine if they want to prosecute. In cases of attempted property fraud, they usually do, especially when false documents were involved. She looked at Patricia. You should probably consult with a lawyer, Mrs. Thornton. After Jennifer left, the three of us sat in the conference room in silence. Through the window, I could see the parking lot, the autumn leaves blowing across the pavement. I'm sorry, Patricia said finally. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. Why didn't you just ask me? I asked. If you needed money that badly, why not talk to me, or Lisa, or David? Because asking would mean admitting I failed, Patricia said. The golden child who had everything figured out, begging her niece for money. I couldn't. So instead you committed fraud. Instead I made a terrible decision. She gathered her surgery brochures, stacking them neatly. For what it's worth, I was going to tell you eventually, after the sale. I was going to say Mom's trust required the house be sold and divided, give you a third of the money, and hope you believed me. That's still fraud, Patricia, my mother said. I know. Patricia stood up. I should go. Find a lawyer, I guess. Figure out what comes next. She walked to the door, then stopped. Emma, I know you probably hate me now, but the lake house really does just sit empty most of the time. If you're planning to sell it anyway, maybe we could. No, I said. Patricia nodded. Right, of course. She left. My mother sank into the chair Patricia had vacated. That was quite a performance. Which part? All of it. She rubbed her temples. I knew Patricia was having money problems, but I had no idea it was that bad, or that she'd go this far. When did you find out about the sale? I asked. You called me Tuesday night, remember? Said you needed me at a closing on Thursday, but wouldn't tell me why. I wanted you to hear it from her own mouth, I said. The lies, the justifications, the whole thing. You could have just called the police yourself. The title company had to report it for it to really stick. If I'd just called the police, she would have claimed it was a misunderstanding, a family dispute. This way, there's a paper trail, professional witnesses, documentation. My mother looked at me with something like pride. You've been planning this for weeks, since September 30th, when I filed the fraud alert. I knew she wouldn't back down until she was actually caught, until she faced consequences. What will you do if the county presses charges? I considered this. I don't know yet. Part of me wants to let the system handle it. Part of me thinks Patricia needs professional help, more than jail time. And the lake house, I'm keeping it, I said. For now at least, maybe forever. Grandma left it to me for a reason. My mother smiled. She did love you best. She loved all of us. But she knew I'd appreciate what she built there. The quiet, the peace, the way the sunrise looks over the water. I gathered my things. Patricia was right about one thing. I don't use it enough. Maybe I should change that. We walked out to the parking lot together. The sky had turned gray, promising rain. What do you think will happen to Patricia? My mother asked. I think she'll hire a lawyer, who'll try to make a deal. First-time offender, financial desperation, family circumstances. Maybe she'll get probation and restitution instead of jail time. Would you accept restitution? Depends on the amount, and whether she actually gets help for whatever's making her think this kind of thing is acceptable. My mother hugged me. You handled that well, kept your composure the whole time. I've had weeks to prepare, and I read Grandma's journals after she died. Did you know Patricia tried to contest the will? I knew. She told Grandma to her face that leaving the lake house to one person was divisive and unfair. This was while Grandma was in hospice. I unlocked my car. So yeah, I had some idea of what I was dealing with. Still, you could have warned me what to expect today. I wanted genuine reactions. If you'd known, you might have let something slip to Patricia. My mother laughed. You're more strategic than I gave you credit for. I drove home to my rental house in South Minneapolis, the one with the leaking basement and the temperamental furnace. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Paid for by the job I worked and the careful budgeting I maintained. That night, I pulled out the file I'd been building since September. Every email from the realtor, every document Patricia had filed, every step of her attempted fraud, cataloged and organized. My phone rang at 8:30 p.m. Unknown number. Emma Thornton. Yes. This is Detective Sarah Kowalski with the Hennepin County Attorney's Office Fraud Division. I'm calling about the title fraud report filed today, regarding property at 4782 Lakeshore Drive. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Yes. Absolutely. We talked for 40 minutes. I explained the timeline, the relationships, the documentation. Detective Kowalski asked careful, thorough questions. One last thing, she said. Do you want to pursue this? We can proceed with or without your cooperation, but it helps to know if the victim wants prosecution. I thought about Patricia's smudged makeup, her surgery brochures, her admission of debt and desperation. Yes, I said, I want to pursue this. Can I ask why? A lot of family fraud cases, the victims just want it to go away. Because this wasn't just fraud, I said. It was a complete disregard for my autonomy, my inheritance, and my grandmother's wishes. Patricia didn't just try to steal money. She tried to erase what my grandmother wanted for me. That's worth holding her accountable for. Understood. We'll be in touch. After she hung up, I opened my laptop and looked at photos of the lake house. The cedar siding weathered to silver gray, the deck overlooking the water, the stone fireplace my grandfather built in 1979. I made a reservation at the lake house for the following weekend, not to prepare it for sale, just to sit on the deck and watch the sunrise, the way Grandma and I used to do. 3 weeks later, Patricia was formally charged with attempted fraud and forgery. Her lawyer negotiated a plea deal: 2 years probation, restitution of $15,000 for the title company's investigation costs, and the Hendersons lost earnest money, and mandatory financial counseling. I didn't attend the hearing, but I did send a victim impact statement explaining why my grandmother's wishes mattered, why the lake house mattered, and why accountability mattered. The judge quoted from it when accepting the plea deal. 6 months after that, I got a text from Patricia, just 3 words. I'm in therapy. I didn't respond, but I didn't block her number either. The lake house still sits on Lake Minnetonka, protected by an irrevocable trust that only I can control. I go there once a month now, sometimes more. I bring my laptop and work from the deck. I've started inviting friends up for weekends. Last month, my mother asked if she could visit. We spent a Saturday there, drinking coffee on the deck, watching boats cross the water. Do you think Grandma knew Patricia would try something like this? She asked. Maybe, I said. Or maybe she just knew I'd protect it whatever came. You did, my mother said. You protected exactly what she wanted you to have. The sunrise that morning was gold and pink, spreading across the water like a promise. I took a photo and saved it on my phone, right next to the image of the trust document that had stopped my aunt cold in that conference room. Some things are worth protecting, some legacies are worth fighting for. The lake house was both. Word count, 3,847 words. I need to expand this significantly to reach 5,500 minus 6,000 words. Let me continue the story with additional scenes and development. The Sunday after the closing that never happened, I drove back to the lake house alone. The October air had that crystalline quality that makes everything seem sharper, more real. I needed to check the property, make sure Patricia hadn't done anything else I didn't know about. The gravel driveway crunched under my tires as I pulled up. Everything looked normal from the outside. The cedar shingles still weathered silver, the green shutters still straight, the dock extending into water that reflected the autumn sky like polished glass. I unlocked the front door and stepped into the smell of cedar and dust. The furniture sat exactly where I'd left it 3 months ago. The braided rug Grandma made in 1983, the photos on the mantel, the kitchen table where we'd played cards during summer thunderstorms. I checked every room methodically. Patricia had been here, I could tell from small things. A cabinet door left slightly open, closets that had been searched. She'd been looking for something, probably documentation she could use or destroy. In Grandma's old bedroom, I found the evidence. The filing cabinet had been forced open, its lock broken. Papers were scattered across the floor, old tax returns, insurance policies, receipts from decades ago. Patricia had gone through everything. I spent 2 hours organizing the mess, checking to make sure nothing important was missing. Most of it was junk, honestly. Grandma had been a pack rat, saving every receipt and letter. But beneath a stack of 1990s utility bills, I found something I'd never seen before. A letter addressed to me, in Grandma's handwriting. Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've inherited the lake house. I'm sure Patricia isn't happy about it. Maybe David and Lisa aren't either, though they'll hide it better. I want you to understand why I did this. The lake house isn't just property, it's the place where I learned to be myself after your grandfather died. It's where I watched you grow from a shy 10-year-old into a thoughtful young woman. It's where we had our best conversations. Remember, you and me on the deck at dawn, talking about everything and nothing. Patricia will want to sell it. David will say we should be practical. Lisa will try to keep the peace. But you, Emma, you'll understand what this place means. Not its value in dollars, but its value as a refuge, as a place to think and breathe and remember. I'm leaving it to you because I trust you to protect it, not just from outsiders, but from family members who'll see it as an asset to liquidate. Stand firm, sweetheart. This is yours because you're the only one who'll treasure it the way I did. Love always, Grandma Margaret. I sat on the bedroom floor and cried. Not gentle tears, but the kind that come from deep in your chest, the kind you've been holding back for years. Grandma had known. Of course she'd known. She'd spent 76 years watching her family, understanding their strengths and weaknesses. She'd known Patricia would see the lake house as money. She'd known I'd see it as a sanctuary. I took the letter home and added it to my file, just in case I ever needed it. The next week I got a call from Detective Kowalski. We've completed our investigation, she said. Patricia Thornton forged multiple documents, including a fraudulent power of attorney and a fake trust amendment. She also convinced her realtor that she had legal authority to sell, which puts the realtor in a difficult position. They should have verified more thoroughly, but they trusted the documentation. What happens now? The county attorney wants to prosecute, but there's a complication. What kind of complication? Patricia's lawyer is claiming diminished capacity due to stress and financial pressure. They're pushing for a mental health evaluation, possibly a diversion program instead of prosecution. I felt my jaw tighten. She knew exactly what she was doing. I believe you, but her lawyer is good. They're building a narrative of a desperate woman making a one-time mistake under extreme duress. Detective Kowalski paused. How would you feel about a meeting? You, Patricia, the lawyers, and a mediator. Sometimes these cases resolve better outside the courtroom. She tried to steal my house. I know, and if you want to go to trial, we'll support that. I'm just presenting all the options. I thought about Grandma's letter, about standing firm, about protecting what mattered. I'll meet with her, I said, once, but I'm not dropping the charges without seeing real accountability. The mediation was scheduled for the following Wednesday at a county office building downtown. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing my best work blazer and carrying the file I'd assembled. Patricia was already there, sitting in the waiting area with a man in an expensive suit, her lawyer presumably. She looked terrible, thinner than she'd been at the closing, her hair showing gray roots, her skin sallow under the fluorescent lights. She didn't look at me. We were called into a conference room where a mediator named James Paulson waited. He was a retired judge with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Let's establish some ground rules," he said once we were all seated. "This is a confidential discussion. Nothing said here can be used in court unless we reach an agreement. Everyone gets to speak without interruption. The goal is to find a resolution that addresses both the legal issues and the family dynamics." Clear? Everyone nodded. "Miss Thornton, Emma, would you like to start?" I opened my file. My grandmother left me her lake house in 2019. It was a specific bequest in her will, clearly documented and legally executed. I placed the property in an irrevocable trust in 2020 to protect it. In September of this year, I discovered that my aunt had listed the property for sale, claiming authority she didn't possess. She forged documents, lied to professionals, and attempted to complete a fraudulent sale. She did all of this to fund plastic surgery and pay personal debts. Patricia's lawyer leaned forward. "Mr. Paulson, my client acknowledges that mistakes were made." "Not mistakes," I interrupted. "Crimes, fraud, forgery, theft." "Emma," Patricia said quietly, "please let me explain." I looked at her. Really looked at her. She met my eyes this time, and what I saw there wasn't defiance. It was exhaustion. "Go ahead," I said. Patricia took a shaky breath. "When Mom died, I was already struggling. My marriage was falling apart. My business consulting firm lost its biggest client. I had debts I couldn't pay. And then Mom's will was read, and you got the lake house, the one thing that would have saved me financially. And I broke. So you decided to steal it." "I decided to take what I thought should have been mine anyway." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I convinced myself that Mom's will was unfair, that she'd meant for the property to be divided, but hadn't updated her paperwork. I told myself I was correcting an oversight, by forging documents, by doing whatever it took to survive." Patricia's hands were shaking. "I'm not defending what I did. I'm trying to explain the headspace I was in. Desperate, panicked, irrational." Her lawyer cleared his throat. "Miss Thornton has been diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. She's been in treatment for 6 weeks now. We believe her actions, while legally wrong, were the result of a mental health crisis." I looked at Detective Kowalski, who'd been silent until now. She gave me a subtle nod. "Your call." "I have a letter," I said, pulling it from my file. "From my grandmother, written before she died. Would you like to hear it?" Patricia's face went white. "Emma, don't." I read the letter aloud, every word. When I finished, the room was silent except for Patricia's quiet crying. "She knew," I said. "She knew you'd try this. That's why she wrote it. That's why she left the house, specifically to me, in a way that would be difficult to challenge." "I didn't know about the letter," Patricia whispered. "Would it have mattered if you did?" She didn't answer. James Paulson folded his hands on the table. "It seems we have a clear case of premeditated fraud, motivated by financial desperation, and possibly exacerbated by mental health issues. The question is what kind of resolution serves justice, while acknowledging the family relationship and Patricia's current situation." "I want 3 things," I said. "First, full restitution for all costs, the title company's investigation, the Hendersons' losses, and my legal fees. Second, a formal admission of guilt, on the record. Third, genuine treatment and accountability, not just a lawyer's strategy to avoid consequences." Patricia's lawyer started to object, but she cut him off. "I agree." He stared at her. "Patricia, we discussed." "I agree," she repeated, louder this time. "Emma's right. What I did was premeditated. I knew it was wrong and I did it anyway. I should face consequences. The county attorney is prepared to offer a plea deal," Detective Kowalski said. 2 years probation, restitution, and mandatory counseling. "If you agree to those terms and complete them successfully, the felony charge could potentially be reduced to a misdemeanor." "I'll take it," Patricia said. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to argue, but Patricia's expression was final. James Paulson drew up the agreement on the spot. Patricia signed it. So did I. The whole thing took 20 minutes. Afterward, Patricia asked if we could talk privately. Her lawyer objected, but she dismissed him. We stood in the hallway outside the conference room, 2 women who used to be close, now separated by betrayal and broken trust. "I don't expect forgiveness," Patricia said. "I don't even know if I deserve it. But I want you to know that reading Grandma's letter, it helped me understand something." What? That my value isn't in my bank account, or my appearance, or my status. Grandma saw through all that. She knew I was chasing the wrong things, and she knew you weren't. Patricia wiped her eyes. I'm going to do the work, the real work. Therapy, financial counseling, all of it. Not to avoid jail, to actually fix what's broken in me. I hope you do, I said, and I meant it. Will you ever let me see the lake house again? I thought about it. Ask me in 2 years, after you've completed probation, after you've actually done the work. She nodded. That's fair. 3 months later, I received a check in the mail. $15,000, made out from Patricia Thornton. A note was attached. First installment on restitution. More to come. Thank you for holding me accountable. P. I deposited the check and added the note to my file. The lake house remains protected in its irrevocable trust. I've started keeping Grandma's tradition, watching the sunrise from the deck with a cup of coffee, thinking about inheritance and legacy, and what it means to protect something worth protecting. Last week I brought my own niece there for the first time. She's 7, bright-eyed and curious, asking a million questions about everything. Why is this house special? She asked, as we sat on the deck at dawn. Because someone I loved wanted me to have it, I said, and because I fought to keep it. Will you give it to me someday? I smiled. Maybe, if you love it the way I do, if you understand what it means to protect something precious. She thought about this seriously. I think I could do that. Good, I said. Then I'll teach you everything Grandma taught me. The sun rose over Lake Minnetonka, painting the water gold and pink. My niece watched in awe, and I took a picture. Not of the sunrise, but of her face reflecting its light. Some legacies are measured in money, others are measured in moments like this, in traditions passed down, in standing firm when it would be easier to yield. Patricia completed her probation successfully. She sends a card every year on the anniversary of Grandma's death. I send one back. We're not close anymore, maybe never will be again, but we've reached something like peace. The trust document sits in my safe deposit box, right next to Grandma's letter, and the photo of that first sunrise with my niece. Proof that some things are worth the fight. That family can break your heart, but also that boundaries can heal it. The lake house endures, protected and cherished, exactly as Grandma intended, exactly as I promised I would keep it.